Hi there, this is Linda and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to share with you how things are going in my 2024 craft planner and set up my February spread. So let's go ahead and dive right in. Okay, so before we get into it, I just want to give a little bit of the stats for this. So this is my craft planner. And I'm using the Hobonichi Day-Free planner for 2024. The Hobonichi Day-Frees come with the monthly spreads that are the same as in their A6 Hobonichi and the Hobonichi cousin. But rather than having weekly and daily pages, they just have numbered blank grid pages after the monthlies. So you have a lot more flexibility as to what you want to do with the rest of your planner. This spread or this layout, when I initially got into Hobonichi, thought I will never want a day free because I do so much daily and weekly planning. That said, for craft planning, I don't need daily and weekly spreads. The only calendar type spread I need is a monthly. And so this was the perfect planner for me. I have tried a few different craft planners throughout the years. I've tried making my own. I've tried using Golden Coil, which has a lot of personalized ones or pages that you can do, and none of them really stuck. This one I think is working for me well. I decorated the cover just with this very simple sticker from Brandy Kincaid, but it's starting to show a little bit of wear. I didn't get a cover for it, and I don't think they make many covers for it because it is so much thinner than the regular Hobonichi cousin. So I don't know, but it is getting a little bit of wear and tear, and it's only February. I did start this planner back in, I think, October, but we'll see as we dive in. So it starts out the same as the cousin. You've got your year at a glance overview. I did nothing with the spread. I probably will not do anything with the spread. I could maybe go back and highlight all the days I post or something like that. I'm not sure, but I don't know that that's really necessary. Then it has the Calendex for spreads in here, which are for trackers. Currently, I'm tracking how much time, or not how much time, but what I spend time on in terms of crafting versus content creating. I do spend a ton of time on content creation, which I enjoy, which is why I do it, but it also is very time consuming and does take away from the amount of time I can spend actually crafting. So this gives me kind of an overview of that. I tracked it in January. I'm starting it in February. I don't know that this is worth the time, so I might end up abandoning these spreads, but I'm not sure what else to use them for. They might just go unused in this planner, which is fine. Then I have my monthlies. So this starts in December of 2023. I actually started before then, but you'll see when we get to the blank pages how I did that. But basically what these spreads I use them for is things of what I've posted after it's scheduled to post. So it shows either my Instagrams or my YouTube. And so this is purely from a content creation perspective. Here's January and then here's February so far. I'm going to skip ahead through the monthlies that have not happened yet. And it goes all the way through March of 2025. And then I get into the daily or blank pages. The first thing I did was my craft goals, and I wanted to share a little bit more with you guys. I'm going to lift it up so you can hopefully see it a little better. I don't know if the lighting's great, but I do have a still image of this on my Instagram account if you want to take more time to sit there and look at it. But basically what I did was I broke down my craft goals for 2024 about what were the projects I really wanted to focus on this year and get done. I made a little bubble for each project I wanted to do. So I have my daily journal, my project life 2024, my mini me 2024, various mini albums and other projects that I really wanted to work on during 2024. Some of them are also 2023 projects that I needed to finish up. I did finish December daily 2023 in the first few weeks of January. I decided to power through that and get that one done before even setting these goals. So I didn't do this maybe until the second week of the year, which is totally fine. I wanted to kind of close that chapter in 2023 and move into what is going to be a lingering project for 2023 versus finished. In addition to putting the titles, I made little bullet points under each one to just kind of give myself some notes about what I'm working on in those projects. So whether it is, you know, what kits I'm using, if it's ongoing, if I'm going to focus on it in certain time frames, those types of things. So I put all those in bullet points. And then what I decided to do was create these little calendars. So you can see here, well, you can see that under this Project Life 2023, I wrote out all of the months of the year just by initials. So there's January, February, March, April, May, June. The next line is July, August, September, October, November, December. And what I did was I highlighted the months that I wanted to focus on that project. So Project Life 2023, my goal is to finish it by March or by the end of March. My Mini-Me 2024 and Project Life 2024 are my primary projects that I want to focus on. Sorry, my camera's moving. That I want to focus on all year. So I highlighted the full year on those, but now I know I've got those projects and this one. So I know I'm focusing on these two projects all year, and I'm focusing on finishing Project Life 2023 in the first 3 months of the year. So I know I can't have too many things ongoing at the same time. So I used this system to figure out when I'm going to focus on different projects. So Week in the Life, Allie said she's documenting it in May. So I have myself focusing on that in May and June. December dailies, November and December. I'm sorry, I keep having to pause my video because my cat is being really strange right now. Anyways, so I'm focusing on Week in the Life through May and June. I'm focusing December dailies, November, December. Then I know I want to do a travel album for a trip I'm taking in August. So I have that as August, September, and October being my focus in those months. I also have some mini albums that I want to do. I wanted to do a day in the life, and I put that in September. I think that that's when Allie said she's doing it. I can't remember if I decided to go along with her or not. Most likely I did. And then I want to make a mini album for another trip I'm taking in February. So I have that for March and April. And then I have, those are the only ones. And then I just wanted to have space to add some spontaneous mini projects. Then I have some that I underlined. So these are the ones that I want to work on, but they're not the priority. So that is finishing up my Mini-Me 2023. So I want to kind of focus on part 1, the first 3 months, focus on part 2 during the summer through July, and hopefully be done with it by the time I'm diving into my Europe travel album. I also have some ongoing projects that I work on continuously, so I put those. And then I have a New York Adventures mini album that I'm starting. I am documenting some like mini vacations, not like vacations, but like day trips that I'm doing during the year. I'm just trying to explore my area a bit more. I live in upstate New York. There's a ton going on around here. I put some here that I know I want to include. So I have Newburgh. I went there December 23. Beacon, I'm probably going to take a trip in the spring. Lake Placid, I have a trip planned in June. I'm probably also going to add in Brooklyn. I'm going there in May, even though I do go to Brooklyn pretty frequently, or the city. So, and you could do a whole album of New York City, of course, but I'm doing it from a different perspective because I am not a tourist in New York City. I used to live there, and I go there very frequently for work. So I also might add, I think I had another, oh yeah, I was thinking I might go to Niagara Falls as well. So I'm going to add all of those into a New York Adventures album, which I think is going to be super fun, but that is not my priority. So I just put it as like a secondary project. And that way you can kind of see how my focus is going to be throughout the year. I didn't add that for my journals because those are also an ongoing focus. And I just felt like it wasn't necessary to put more lists, especially because there just wasn't space, but those ones are ongoing. The next page is like my reference page. So these are things that I need to refer to a lot, like dimensions. I have stuff for like the teams I'm on, like the due dates and that kind of stuff. I have a key for my tracking that I have here, which you'll see how that comes up later in my book. Then I move to, this page is my growth tracker. So I don't focus too much on my numbers, but I do like to track how much my accounts are growing during the month to kind of see if what I'm doing is working or if I need to kind of change my direction. So I have where I started in October because that's when I started this journal, and I went through the end of December 2024 just to kind of track my growth on Instagram and YouTube. Here's a running list of ideas, mostly for YouTube videos. Then I have an index. So those are kind of like my starting pages. And this is an index for everything else. And I do need to add a few things on here, but I'm going to do some updates to this very soon, or on this video. So you'll be able to see me doing that. So I left these pages for the index. And then I have some planning for December daily, which is what I first started in here. So these were just kind of some ideas that I printed off the internet, some things I sketched out to do December daily, and I never ended up filling in the page, which is fine. I didn't have more things to sketch out as I went. Instead, I found myself this year kind of putting it together as I thought of the ideas rather than sketching them out in advance, which worked out great. So this is all that I had from that, but I could see having this place as a home for more sketches if needed. For here, what I did was I actually created a YouTube video that was 50 story ideas for December daily. So in order to make that, I went back and made a list of all of the story ideas that I told all the way back from 2015 through 2022. So this was before I did my 2023 December daily, and I loved being able to see kind of what stories were repeated and get some different ideas. The next two pages are notes from a class from Allie Edwards that I took as a student, so I'm not going to share that because it's paid content from Allie. Then I have my tracker here of Project Life 2023. So I started this book when I was working on July, so that is where I just started, and I have the week, the kit that I'm using, the page protector layout of the left side, the page protector layout of the right side, and then I'm checking off the boxes here of whether or not I've planned the page, printed photos, and if it's completed. I have my mini-me albums here. So I was finishing up 2022, so I have that one done. 2023 part 1, I'm finishing up now. So I kind of sketched it out, kind of a list of the page style, what the story is, where it's planned out, and like the stage of it. This wasn't working for me very well, so I kind of rewrote it down here, and you'll see when I planned my 2024 one, I'm doing it a little different. Then I got into October. So because I started this in October and these calendars up here started in December, I did draw my own calendars for October and November. So I did that. And then I have my kind of my tracking page that I do every month. On the left-hand side, I have my goals for the month. So these are my craft goals. So the specific projects I want to focus on and get done. And this side is my tracking of products. So I track all of the products that come in and the products that go out, just to try to show to myself that I am using more than I am buying. I'm not always successful at that, but my goal is to use more than I buy. So that is my hope. I can see here that in 2023, I had purchased 191 more Project Life cards than I used in the year at the end of October. So that's not great, but it is, it is what it is. And so far in 2024, I'm doing better, I think. I have my stamps that came in. The stamps, of course, stamps don't go out because I keep all of my stamps. They are, products that you can use over and over, but I do catalog them. So I'm tracking how many of them have been cataloged. And then I just keep a track of all the projects that I completed, so I know that they are in my tracker. I also have kits, new kits in and new kits out, or kits crushed. And here was my November calendar. I really loved how that calendar came together. November goals and tracking. I rearranged kind of my layout over here a little bit from what I had going on in October. And I liked how this one looks a little bit better, but I did end up shaking it up and changing some things as we go forward. Here's December. The calendar's not here because, of course, that one's in the beginning. I have this, of course, December daily was my big focus. I didn't check all of these off because I didn't finish them until January, which is fine. And I ended up not putting them on any tracker, which is okay. This is just like if I need it. And you can see I didn't really get much else done during the month of December, but that's fine. Here's the same supply tracker. And then here's January's, my January projects, my January supply tracker. You can see I did so much crafting in January. I'm so proud of myself. I also did have a lot of new kits come in and just one kit out, which isn't great. A lot of products came in January, but I did use a lot of supplies as well. moving into, so my plan for these is I will have my monthly spread here, and then whatever spreads come up during the month will end up in here, and then the next month's planning spread will just show up whenever it shows up. So I started this one for my media journal. These are just notes for my media journal. I have not yet shared a look into my media journal here on YouTube, but this is what my media journal looks like. I'm using another day-free Hobonichi because after using this one, I thought this is such a great book. But this is where I'm documenting, the books and media I'm consuming in 2024. And I just needed a reference page of, where to find stamps and dimensions and that type of stuff. This is my media printed page. So I'm tracking how I print media. So basically I store all of my photos on my computer in folders based on the week. Those are all the photos I take, but it also includes screenshots and other things that I grab that I might want to print to include in my journal. So this is just showing whether or not I've printed things from a specific folder for my journal yet. Then the next spread is my Start Story Kit planning, which is paid content in the Story Kit classroom. So you can check that out in that classroom. Then I have my Project Life 2024 Part 1 tracker. So far, I have just the first few weeks scheduled out in here, but this follows the same format as my 2023 Project Life tracker. Then I have my notes for the Start Community Zoom call, which is also paid content, but I didn't end up writing a ton during it, but I just had some notes to myself. So I do think I'm going to keep doing this each month for the story kits, even though I won't necessarily write a ton in here. Next is my Savor Story Kit plan, which again is paid content in the Savor Story Kit classroom. And then I printed out this calendar that Allie provided of when releases and projects are going to be happening this year, and I just pasted it in here. And then this last page that I have done so far is my 2024 Mini-Me plan. So I've kind of switched up how I'm doing this, where I have the story and details here, where it's planned, and then the page layout, so similar to what I have in my Project Life tracker, because that works so much better, and then the plan, print, and done. I do have other pages that are planned that are not listed in this grid yet. I probably need to sit down and figure out the order of what I want projects to go in my album. But I'm not going to really focus on that today. When I do go ahead and share that album, I might end up sharing some of this content here when I share kind of some of those projects, but I'm not sure exactly how that will look yet. Now what I'm going to do is set up my February trackers, because it is now the month of February, so I need to have my February goals and my February trackers set up. So I'm going to put you guys on fast forward and get those pages put together.
Okay, so I started by laying out the framework for this, and I'm really just following the same template that I used in January. There were a few things that I wanted to modify, and a few things when this is done that I realize I'm probably going to modify next month, but I do create a functional spread for myself that does work. On the left-hand side, I'm creating 5 boxes for 5 categories of craft goals that I want to do. The left-hand side is my craft goal list for the month of February, and the right-hand side is my supply tracker list, where I'm going to create various boxes and charts to track my different supplies that are coming in and out. I don't think that it makes sense for me to do voiceovers over this entire thing, so I'm going to put on some music and I will pop in when I have something to say. While I was working on this, I was watching a show, and there was a quote from the show that I decided I wanted to add to my daily journal spread. So I just pulled that over and added it in. I originally was intending to cut that out of the video, but I thought you guys might like to see it, so I did leave it in there. The top left-hand side here of this right-hand page is my tracker of stamps. So I have a box to tally up new stamps that come into my stash so I can see how many new stamps I have acquired over the course of the year. Then I have some trackers to track if I have added any to my catalog system, so how many new ones have been labeled and how many new ones have been logged. And then starting in January, I added a spot for progress where I'm just going to kind of X off every day that I work on it just to show that I did make some progress in cataloging my stamps. You can see in January I worked on it on 2 separate days. Then below that was a new tracker that I added in January that I'm drawing right now, which was to track pattern papers. So these would be any papers that come into my stash or that I use that are 6x8, 3x8, or 12x12, whatever size. And the different colors from my key at the front represent different size papers, but in terms of tracking them, I really am just looking at the overall number. So I'm looking at how many papers came in, how many went out. In January, I had a net of 34. So now I have 34 more pieces of pattern paper in my stash than I had at the beginning of the year, which is fine. I will try my best to work and getting that down to a negative number. In the top left or right corner where I'm drawing now is a grid for tracking cards. So this is the Project Life cards that are in my stash. I have been tracking cards the longest. When I originally started these trackers, I was only tracking the cards, and I would say that's probably been a few years now. And so I'm tracking the number of Project Life cards that come into my stash and the ones that leave. And each chart kind of has the different grids in it are representing different brands. So I can see if there's particular brands that I use more than others. I find that to be helpful information. So I'm tallying up my January ones now, and those ones I ended up netting a positive of 124 new cards in my stash, which is not good, but I had a lot of kits come in January for my creative team assignments that really bumped up that number, but I'm hoping to use a lot of those products in February when I get back from my vacation, and I will hopefully be able to have more going out in February than coming in. Right here, this little chart is tracking kits. So those would be the new kits that come in versus the kits that I feel are crushed, I guess, in air quotes, because I'm not necessarily going to use up every single piece, but I've used enough to work it into my stash so that I'm no longer storing it as a separate kit. And then finally on the bottom right there, I have a section to write out the projects that I've completed, and that's mostly just so that I can make sure that I don't log the same project twice in terms of the logging of cards that were used. Now I'm working on my goals here on the left-hand side and writing out the Project Life spreads that I want to do in the top section, which is going to represent Project Life 2024. The second section is going to be my creative team assignments. Then I have a section for journaling and planning. Those are not necessarily projects that I'm going to check off, but I like to put it on here so that it is represented, because it does take up a lot of time in what I can do with my crafting. So I want to make sure that I'm not spending, or that I'm not overscheduling myself to do too many scrapbook projects and discounting the amount of time that I'm going to devote to those journals. The fourth section are for kits that I want to crush. So those are story kits, stories by the month, and quarterly scrapbook kits. And then at the very bottom are my 2023 projects that I'm wanting to finish up. after wrapping up this spread, my planner is all ready for the month of February and for me to tackle some of these craft projects. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below and let me know if you'd like to see more updates from my craft planner in the future. And as always, I hope to see you guys all in the next one. Bye!